I ran the natural resources group and discovered that they had a water allocation in the Dolores project, and there were just starting to be discussion of Indian water rights settlements, of really settling winners' rights claims. And so, I helped the Tribal Council form a water resources task force. The tribe had never had drinkable water in their community. I mean, when I first went out there, there were stock tanks in people's front yards, and there was a water truck that would back up to the stock tank, dump water in there, and then to cook and do anything that required potable water. Then people would come out with buckets and carry buckets of water into their house. So the tribe had never had drinking water. Therefore, there was no economic development. And so what they traded, they subordinated their claims on the Mancos River. What they got in exchange was the 7,600 acres of
Dolores,
a farm, the drinkable water. I mean, they started building the domestic pipeline immediately after the settlement. So they got their wet water. You ask about infrastructure. That's the whole basis for wet water. You can have what was called a paper water right, that you get in court and you're entitled to this much water. But if you don't have a place to put it to beneficial use and infrastructure to get it to that place, then you got a paper water right.
Right.
And so what the Dolores project did is it gave them a wet water right. In other words, where that was the fun part of being the project development coordinator. We went down. The reclamation had done the soils work. There's tons of archaeology down there. So the archaeologists went in and did, a bunch of archaeological studies. So we went out and staked, and we had an agronomist come in and pick out the best soils. Everything that they were promised, clean drinking water, opportunity for economic development, a good, really fine farm and everything, all materialized. They were able to come in and do, really highly efficient center pivot sprinklers right off the bat. They've got moisture probes, they've got nutrient probes, they can operate those pivots remotely. So it's probably the most efficient farm in this part of the country.
Wow.
Without question.
Yeah.
And they made, it did it really well. I mean, their crop revenue, depending on the year, commodity prices and all that, they would make, their crop income would be not net, but I mean,
revenues.
They generate somewhere between $4 and $10 million a year.
Out of how many acres?
Officially the project's 7,600 acres, and then there's 100 acres that they already had. So 7,600 acres out there on the project.
Yeah.
They've got like I said, 110 center pivot sprinklers. Well, they've gotten, kind of cost share grants out of NRCS, and they're replacing 10 to 12 pivots a year. So they're taking pivots that have been out there for 25 years and being able to replace them with the latest technology and with brand new systems and everything. So that's one thing they're doing. They're doing micro hydro units as we speak. They're putting micro hydro units in those pipes. They just installed the electronics for the first one in the last few days. So what that's going to do, kind of micro hydro power. It's going to run their headquarters and they're going to run the pivots in that part of the farm and their headquarters. So we see the potential in the renewables, not only to do some good things with regard to mitigating climate change, but also as a revenue source for the tribe. So their dependency is not on fossil fuels anymore.
Correct.
It's on renewables. I mean, what we're negotiating for is the renewable energy projects in New Mexico. It doesn't take a lot of water to run a solar installation, but it does take water.
Right.
And somebody's got to live out there, and that sort of thing. And then there's a pump back storage project, which is To me, it looks very promising. We studied one on when I was manager of DWCD,
Right.
and that hydro battery is a tool that any water anybody that's trying to trying to manage a grid would love to have. Nobody anticipated all the reclamation studies that were done were different period of record.
Right.
And so nobody anticipated all of the planning, and reclamation does really good planning and everything. All the planning didn't point. They said there'd be some shortages, never below 50%, and fairly infrequent.